Do you guys see now?
Yep.
Okay, perfect, perfect.
Mm-hmm.
So, uh, one of my clients came to me and she was hired to consult with the owner on this property. This is in McDonough, Georgia, so it's Henry
Mm-hmm.
County. Now, this young lady's grandfather passed and had passed 6 acres down to her. It ended up being almost like a square right here, okay,
Okay.
or a rectangle. So it's 6 acres. And she had it for a while. And I guess people have been telling her, well, maybe you could do this, maybe you could do that. Everybody's been in her ear before she came to us. So she came to my friend and she said, no, you need to talk to Damon. So she came to me and said, I want to do a senior center. I said, okay, do you have any experience doing that? She said, no, but I heard that the government will pay for it. And so as we did a feasibility study, we always do feasibility studies on every project before we get you into the project, okay? And we did a feasibility study and said it's not going to work for you. HUD does not advance funds. If they do, it's going to be Section 202 grant funds. And by the time it gets disseminated down to Henry County and McDonough, there's not that much left. Uh, Case in point, the last company that received those funds has 43 senior living units throughout the country.
Wow.
They just built one for $14 million and they got a $3 million grant.
That was good.
So I said, well, you're trying to get a $12 million grant on something you've never done before. It's not going to happen, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And the money's not going to be there. You're going to end up netting yourself maybe $150,000 to $200,000 a year. And it's going to be headache because you're going to have to run it, or you're going to have to pay someone else to run it. And if you pay them to run it, guess what? You probably
Yep.
got 60, 70,000 a year on 6 acres. It may not be worth it. So she said, let's do a highest and best. Now, the reason she wanted that was if you see south adjacent, this is a senior living community that her grandfather built.
Okay.
So she
Okay.
wanted to maybe do something in his honor. But if you look around, this is Old Griffin Road, less than a half
Mm-hmm.
mile up is downtown McDonough.
Yeah.
But across the street, we've got that's a daycare center. No, that's a preschool. Uh, it's it's not really commercial. Okay.
Yeah.
This is
Mm-hmm.
an agricultural lot, and
Uh-huh.
CXX owns this stuff in the back because CXX has a rail terminal down here in
Okay.
McDonough. Okay. Okay. So there's not commercial here. So she was rated RM 75.
Okay.
So we go, okay, let's go ahead and do townhomes for her.
Mm-hmm.
So let's see what that looks like. Let's do a highest and best. So we did a highest and best and came back with townhomes. So we
Mm-hmm.
had to put something to her that we also put in front of the city. So what we do is we work with the municipalities, the city planners, and the developers, and you on whatever you want to do. Let me see if I can drag this. I can't drag anything up to that screen, so I'm going to have to share a new screen with you guys. I do apologize,
It's
but
okay.
it should be a nice, a smooth transition here. Okay, so we're now at a new screen. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
so this is what we came up with, and this is what we presented to the city, and they loved it. Okay. A lot of times we have to look at where we are. And like I was telling you, you always want to build to where the market is. You don't want to
Okay.
build outside of the market. If you build
Okay.
outside of the market, you're going to have problems financing. You may have problems even getting people to purchase. Okay.
Okay.
If that's the case. So with this one here, we were looking at Henry County Southside region. We knew that they needed housing. Everyone needed housing. Their downtown area is
Mm-hmm.
Lawrenceville and Roswell, those little nice downtown strip area where it's all quaint, like in the heat of
Mm-hmm.
the night, where they're rehashing the old diners and things of that nature. So
Okay.
everyone's feeling those trends. And since it's not more than a mile away from downtown, they didn't want it to be some monstrous piece of whatever, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Like public housing, because they had some that were around the corner that a previous builder did probably 18 years prior, and those
Mm-hmm.
things looked horrible. They are a serious eyesore for McDonough. So,
Mm-hmm.
so we swooped in with the townhome concept to take that away. Okay.
Yes.
Um, with that concept, let's see here. We came in and we were doing 9 sets of 5 craft
Mm,
style modern townhomes.
okay.
Those babies were beautiful.
Yeah, those are beautiful.
It's
Yeah,
very nice.
yeah. Some of them had side wraparound porches. Some of them had side wraparound upstairs decks. Okay. Uh, we had to get into what we're going to do before we even engage the architect, the engineer, and all that. Because once you engage them, it's going to cost you some money.
Yeah,
Yes, it do.
So we
usually
cut
30
down-
grand.
Yeah, so we cut down on a lot of the stuff that they've got to look for because we've looked for it. This is
Exactly.
what it is. We've got the concept. Now we can take you to our architects, engineers. I've been lending to builders for 17 years, or if you have people that
Mhm.
you want to work with, we're more than welcome to help work with them with the plan because we're going to end up financing it anyway. You know,
Mhm.
so we're gonna need all the information, license information, insurance, workers' comp releases, everything. Now, so we did 9 sets of attached townhomes with the average price of 300. This was a couple years ago. I would probably sell these townhomes now for about 360. Okay.
Mhm.
We did a grid street pattern because it was neo-traditional. We had a central green. Pedestrian circulation is always a big thing in
Mhm.
communities coming up. If you can show
Exactly.
pedestrian circulation, if you can show the crosswalks that have little white lines going across where people can have
Yes.
their way. Also, we like to see curb verges. So a curb verge is where you've got the curb and then there's a little piece of land and then there's a sidewalk.
Mhm.
Okay.
And then that's where your yard starts. And that way
Mhm.
we can have plantings along the streets. I mean, along
Mhm.
the plantings of trees along the street. So, it gives it a beautiful look when you're planting something like that. Uh,
Mhm.
we initially wanted to have some garages and driveways with alleys behind them. So they didn't have driveways in front. Unfortunately, that didn't work out. So they all ended up being driveways up front. But if you notice on those type of things, we put the driveways together on both sides so that you
Mhm.
maximize the green space in the front that everyone has. Okay.
Okay.
Um, Landscaping and trees, we talked about that. The front yard area is a sidewalk with a minimum of 5 feet to promote the pedestrian safety. Sidewalks are also buffered from the roadway by a 5-foot verge planted with street trees to provide increased separation between pedestrian and vehicles, and it's also very aesthetic. City
Mhm.
planners love this type of stuff. We went into the architecture of it. We went into the HOA development part of it. We looked at what the subject property was, the feasibility on it, according to the city zoning code. We were going to be okay with that. Okay. Um, this was just our initial conceptual layout. Okay.
Mhm.
So coming off Old Griffin Road, you go up a half a mile, you're in downtown. We had them coming in. We had the initial garages in the back on these. So the units
Mhm.
up front were facing the street. We felt it gave it a really good feel, but
Mhm.
it didn't really work out. Now,
Why? Can I ask you a question? Why didn't that work out for the
oh,
garage?
I'm going to get deep into it.
Okay.
Okay. First of all, the fire marshal didn't like the alley. They
Okay.
felt that there were going to be issues with their hoses reaching the back. Of course,
Okay.
we did have what's called we had a 24-foot box for the turnaround. They wanted
Mhm.
they wanted 25.
Okay.
Got 25 on all of the corners. That kind of pushes our building space back as well.
Smaller. Yes.
So with that, we lost that alley. We had to come up with something different. I'm going to show that to you.
Okay.
Now, Old Griffin Road is where our right of way was. So this is where our sewage is coming out at. Okay.
Yes.
We had lot sizes of 25 by 98, footprints of the buildings, 25 by 60s. We had a 15-foot front setback. We had a 20 to 22 back setback with the 18 feet for your pad. So you got your concrete
Mhm.
pad back in the back. We were going to have some dividers in between them. Incoming roads of 28 feet, sidewalks 20, plus a curb verge and things of that nature. City planners loved it. We
Okay.
we did a park that had integrated detention facilities. So you didn't have a detention pond there, and you were just losing that land to a hump of just nasty water and trees. So we
Mm-hmm.
so we integrated it into almost like a park type facility.
Mm.
And a lot of these things are what the community's looking for, are what a lot of communities are looking for in their 2040 plans.
Mm-hmm.
So they love this. The city said, you know what, let's make it happen. So we go, okay, let's get with architecture and engineering. We got with architecture and engineering, and what they found out was, remember, this is our sewer right away. Sewer runs by gravity. Okay.
Mm. Okay.
Okay.
Our grading came back going from east to west.
Mm-hmm.
We were fine here. When we got halfway from here to here, we dropped 18 feet.
Mm.
Oh,
Grade dropped 18 feet.
wow. Okay.
So
That's
now,
a big difference.
yeah, so now
Big.
we got an issue because how do we get sewer? How do we serve the back half of the community with sewer? Okay. And so we had to come out because they don't allow septic here now, especially on those newer developments. So I proposed the idea of doing a pump station or a lift station.
Okay.
Engineer loved it. The architect loved it. And then we started getting into building planning. Once we got into building planning, they cut us down about 4 or 5 times. They took us down to this.
They will do that.
Yeah. Then we ended up here. Okay. That was somewhat similar. We still had the curve verges.
Oh,
And
where are you talking about? Where are we now? Because I know you saying here, but there's no point or nothing. So
okay, so are you looking at the streetscape that I'm looking at right now? Am I? Oh, hold on. No, you're not. Here you go.
okay.
Yes, yes.
Okay. Because I was
They're
wondering.
very different.
Yep,
Yeah.
yep. So it took us to here, and we had a community commons that was still going to be with the detention and water area, but it was gonna be nicely planted. Okay. So we needed a pump station or a fill station that we were going to put back here. City loved it. However, the county is the one that's the water authority. So we have to go through.
Okay.
So we went there and we said, can we do a private pump station? They said, no, we have a moratorium against private pump stations. So, okay, let us do a public pump station. Okay, we're going to charge you a $50,000 application fee, and then you're going to, you ain't even heard of the rest of it. $50,000 application fee. You're going to our right of way on Griffin Road, which goes to our county-owned pump station that we now have to upgrade. That's another $15,000 in upgrades to our pump station to accommodate the volume of what you're doing. So we said, all right, let us think back on it. We thought back on it. We looked back over the numbers. They worked. We came back and said, hey, let's jump it off. Let's do it. We came back and let him know. He said, okay, I'll get back to you. He comes back and goes, no, we can't. Why can you not? We will not do a public lift station or pump station for more than one owner. You know me, I tried to get slick. Well, technically it's an HOA. So even though it's one owner, it's just they're like, good try. But no, we're not going to do that.
Okay.
So now we can't do anything that involves a larger community, and we've got a lot of wasted space in the back.
Okay.
So this was all put on the kibosh, but I said, you know what? Let's look at something else. Let me go back and redo a highest and best. And if I go back and redo a highest and best, then I can, give me just 1 second here. Then maybe we can figure out what we want to do. So I'm talking with the city and I'm trying to figure out what can I do that's going to allow us to do that. We'd have to rezone it. We'd have to rezone it into commercial. And if you recall, we were in a very residential neighborhood with a child care facility right beside us and a church across the street with a lot of old homes. So they were not going to allow us to rezone going commercial with anything that was going to be of a sales related type endeavor. So let me tell you what we ended up doing. I'm going to show it to you first, and then I'm going to tell you what it is. You ladies see this development right here?
Uh-huh.
Looks
Looks
like
like a hotel.
Looks like a hotel or a castle. It has a very residential feel, right?
Yes.
This is a storage facility.
What?
It's a storage facility.
That's a storage facility.
It's a storage facility.
Wow.
It's a storage facility. Self-storage. All we've done is we've changed the outside aesthetic of it to fit in with the residential aspect of everything around it.
I'm in a big facility.
So we can get pushed through zoning
So,
or rezoning of
is
it.
there any residential associated with it? Did you do any?
There's no residential associated with this particular property simply because of that. You wouldn't be making enough money. You can only utilize half the property.
Okay.
Yeah. And so you're wasting, 3 acres.
Yes.
And you don't want to do that. You want to utilize as much of that property as possible. Storage units are very profitable.
Yep.
And they're always in need. They're in need.
Yes.
The county has experienced large expansion, probably about, oh my goodness, this had to be about 12, 13 years ago. Henry County knew that the growth was coming because it was coming from both sides, but it was taking a little too long. So what they did was the Board of Commissioners had a meeting and they said, anyone that has commercial land, they don't have to go through rezoning to build multifamily.
Okay.
And now all of a sudden, 3-4 years after that, you see South Point coming up. And all that stuff that came up over South Point and all that development that came up around it, multifamily on both sides of 75 and 218, you got 300 units over here, 600 units over there. I mean, it just boomed to where they were really starting to put brakes on it.
Okay.
So literally, when we were looking at, okay, maybe let's figure out something multifamily wise, maybe an apartment community up front with a park in the back or something, a larger park, and maybe go up a couple stories. That could have been residential, but here's what the problem, because of that growth, they had a halt on all multifamily applications.
Oh, okay.
They hired an outside consultant to help them rewrite all of their zoning. From their estimates, it was going to take them another 5 to 6 months before they got their first estimate or their first report back from that consulting company. Now, I know this consulting company. So you're telling me in 4 or 5 months, you're going to be okay. And I'm like, no, you're not. No, you're not, because you guys are going to go before the city commission. You're going to have questions about this. They're not going to like this. The city planner is going to have an issue with this. It's going to go back and forth between the consultant, and then you still got to work with the county right now. And you guys in the county aren't working together right now, which is why there's a disconnect. So it's going to be at least a year out to a year and a half before you're going to come back in and allow that multifamily. So they put a halt on all multifamily applications, and they had at least 43 in the pipeline when they put a halt on it. They weren't taking it. And these were some larger ones, 200 multifamily here, 150 multifamily here. Yeah. Well, yes, it is a good thing, but that explosive growth, they weren't ready.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what I was thinking. So how are we accommodating the growth? And then much like many of the communities up here at Research Triangle, the intent is there to effectively preclude any additional growth. And this is one of the ways that they do so, by effectively eliminating the capacity to build new multifamily in the area. Since they're now having to move against each lot or each building required to have at least half an acre or no less than half an acre. So that zoning is effectively being determined to be discriminatory. So that's the way they're getting around those issues. Oh, well, you can make it any size you want. You just can't make multifamily. So that's the problem.
Yeah.
So when they said they had 40 something already in the pipeline. This was Henry County, McDonough?
This was McDonough, the city of McDonough.
Okay. Okay.
Not Henry County as a whole. This was just the city of McDonough.
Okay.
And during that time, literally 2 to 3 months prior, Henry County repealed that act that allowed them to automatically convert commercial to multifamily. So they
Mm.
Really?
simply because they were not ready for that growth of multifamily, which
Okay.
made, that decision with her. Do you want to try to wait it out until they come back and have the zoning for it, which may change what we do? The lot size may change, your setbacks may change, a lot of things may change. Or do you want to do something that we can do now and go for a rezoning, something that's less that's less intensive? That's a less
Mhm.
intensive project. You're building one project, even though it's 300 separate units, it's all one large project. There's only one sewer line that's up front for the manager's bathroom.
Uh,
Mhm.
And that's what I was thinking. The resources you're tagging off of aren't affected almost at all with the storage unit.
Exactly. Exactly. You're actually getting more space because we're not worried about roads coming in between it, the whole 9 yards. So
Mhm.
you're able to
Fire
also,
to that extent, yes.
yeah, build
Oh,
out more space. Yeah. Yeah. So
Wow.
yeah, so that kind of gives you an idea of what we do when we plan something out, and then we take it and go fund it.
okay.